Tonight, tensions run high as hundreds across the province face off. Well, a tragedy that captured international attention tonight. How much did the Marine Institute know about the Titan submersible?
For some people in St. John's, this building behind me might look familiar. Well, the Majestic Theatre has been closed for a really long time, but it is opening back up this Friday with a brand new show. I am Fiona, and that's coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, hundreds of people gathered for protests and counter-protests across the province today. The focus, what's taught in schools and LGBTQ rights. The gatherings were held in St. John's, Grand Falls, Windsor and Corner Brook, and they turned confrontational at times. Here and Now's Mark Quinn has our top story. Marine Institute did not exercise due diligence before getting into a relationship with OceanGate Expeditions, CBC News has learned. The two sides signed an MOU months before the Titan submersible imploded in June, killing 5 people. CBC reporter Ryan Cook joins me now with more. So Ryan, what did Marine Institute know about OceanGate before signing that memorandum of understanding?
Yeah, so we've received thousands of pages of documents showing the conversations between senior leaders at the Marine Institute and OceanGate Expeditions. There's a lot of talk about signing an MOU in there, but no talk about safety or technical questions. So we asked Marine Institute point blank if they had done any vetting on OceanGate's Titan submersible before the signing, and the answer was no. The reason, according to a spokesperson, was that their relationship never reached a stage where due diligence was necessary. It was a pretty basic agreement. OceanGate would save space on the support vessel Polar Prince for students and for researchers, and the Marine Institute would store Titan during the off-season. Now, due to scheduling conflicts, no students were available to do a work term this summer, but one student did accept a job with them and was on the Polar Prince when Titan imploded. The spokesperson said, quote, "With no plans for students or staff to be aboard the Titan, there was no rationale to vet OceanGate."
Okay, so if they had vetted Titan, what might they have found?
Well, they may have discovered it was not certified or regulated by any governing body. They would have learned about its carbon fiber hull, which is significantly less durable than the industry standard titanium. They would have seen the PlayStation controller used to move the submersible at 4,000 meters beneath the surface. And they might have heard the concerns of industry leaders such as Rob McCallum, who have been warning about OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush for years. Now, for what it's worth, McCallum isn't so sure Marine would have been capable of doing due diligence.
It is very hard to do due diligence on a technical operation if you are a lay person, particularly if the people that you're doing due diligence on are going to great lengths to make sure you don't pierce that veil.
McCallum says it's like asking Air Canada technical questions about a plane you're about to board. You just assume because it made it this far that it must be regulated and inspected in some way. In this case, it wasn't, and it appears Marine Institute didn't know about that before entering into an MOU that could have provided opportunities for students and staff to be involved in some capacity.
Okay, so the MOU also comes with a stamp of approval, right? So is that a problem here?
That's the big issue for Will Conan, who co-authored a warning letter to Stockton Rush in 2018. He says that an MOU basically doubles as an endorsement, and that can be a problem. He says Marine became either a willing or hapless ambassador to the OceanGate mission.
When you support something like that, the rest of society will imagine that somebody must have checked and therefore it's good. People need to realize that they're being held in high esteem socially with all the privilege that they actually allow themselves in higher institutions.
Both McCallum and Conan say they hope this doesn't dissuade Marine from further partnerships in ocean innovation. They both feel that this is a critical point for ocean science, and collaboration between industry and institutions is essential. But both men advise to choose carefully in the future. Carolyn?
Thanks so much, Ryan. That's Here Now's Ryan Cook reporting.
Well, it certainly feels like summer still out there this afternoon. Hopefully you enjoyed it, because as we head through the next couple of days, we are going to really feel like fall, that's for sure. Area of low pressure bringing some showers further east tonight, working their way from central or from the west coast through to central. Lots of sunshine still as we see our last hour of daylight for the next couple of days anyway. And if we take a look at the winds today, a little breezy earlier this afternoon, not quite so strong right now, but about 37 kilometers per hour in Bonavista at the moment. You factor in those wind gusts, we're really only seeing some gusty winds for the northern peninsula and southeastern portions of Labrador. As we head through the night tonight, we are going to see some gusty winds spread further along the northeast coast there. By the time we get into tomorrow morning, some areas could be seeing those gusts 70, maybe even 80 kilometers per hour. That will be the story through Thursday evening as well. And then as we head into Friday, some gusty winds will continue, but eventually they will ease as we get into Saturday. I'll get into the long-range forecast when I come back.
Thanks so much, Ashley, and apologies. You may have noticed we had some technical difficulties off the top of the show there. So let's return now to our top story. Hundreds of people gathered for protests and counter-protests across the province today. And it's all over what's being taught in schools and LGBTQ rights. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
Have free coffee and tea and hot chocolate for everyone who came to support queer rights!
Here in St. John's, hundreds of counter-protesters gathered on the steps of the Confederation building. They arrived first and eventually outnumbered protesters about 3-1. But about 100 protesters were there too, part of a Canada-wide march demonstrating against LGBTQ programs and policies in schools. Wendy Short was one of them, standing next to the parkway to protest.
I can't speak for anybody else, but I could definitely say that the biggest concern is it seems like there's secrecy from parents, and I guess we just want everybody to, we don't hate anybody. There's no hate. It's about being included.
Among the counter-protesters was Robert Kenny, who grew up in Newfoundland but has lived outside of the province for decades.
I certainly could have benefited from gender identity conversations when I was growing up in school. And contrary to that, we had homophobic principals, homophobic teachers, and homophobic students who were not course corrected. And for that reason, a lot of us had to leave this province.
Megan Scott was another one of the hundreds who came to be part of the counter-protest.
I'm here today as a pre-service teacher because I believe that queer rights should be taught about in schools, because if a child is old enough to understand that a man and woman can be married, they're old enough to understand that a man and a man and a woman and a woman can be married. On top of that, that trans kids have the right to feel safe in the classroom.
For the most part, both groups stayed apart, but in St. John's there was at least one confrontation. One former politician and lawyer, Chess Crosby, was there as well. He said he came to speak with people in both groups, the protesters and what he called the LGBT alphabet soup group.
Well, I think it's wrong to sexualize children in school, which I think is going on in many parts of the country and may now be happening in Newfoundland and Labrador, maybe a little later than other parts. And this particular group of people is concerned about that, the sexualization of children.
In Grand Falls, Windsor, about 100 protesters and 100 counter-protesters gathered. This is where one of the protest leaders, Dana Metcalf, chose to demonstrate, and where she made unfounded claims that a program developed by the World Health Organization and the UN is introducing sexually explicit books into schools.
When we are facing policies that are happening in the school system that says that we don't have a right to know what's going on with our children, it's very alarming to us.
No space for hate! No space for hate!
And at the event in Corner Brook, there was another confrontation.
There's nobody here, there's not a single person here who's talking about sexualizing any children. We're here so that children can be safe to be themselves in however they identify.
We'll all find ourselves one big mess.
Because of geography and time zones, the protests and counter-protests today began in this province, but similar events were also held in cities across the country. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
We've been bringing you stories this week in the lead up to the first anniversary of post-tropical storm Fiona. The storm tore through Port aux Basques and nearby communities, leaving destroyed homes and widespread trauma in its wake. As Here and Now's Malone Mullen reports, shockwaves from that storm are still affecting people in the region who now live with anxiety about the next big storm.
This is going to be my kitchen. Right here. Nice big kitchen.
Like dozens of others in Port aux Basques, Patty Munden is homeless. She's now in the middle of rebuilding after Fiona took her home nearly 1 year ago. But amid all the construction, there's something intangible people here are struggling to get back. A sense of security and safety after they experienced firsthand the incredible dangers of climate change.
The lady next door was screaming, and I still didn't really pay attention. She was screeching at my husband. He was running around the house from the ocean, and not the big wave, the first wave knocked him, but it didn't knock him down. And he knocked against the house or a fence or something. He was bruised from here down. But if he had got knocked down, he would have been gone.
The people who survived Fiona's wrath have been left with deep but invisible scars. Some refuse to live beside the sea any longer, or even go near it, now that they know what it's capable of. And when bad weather looms, the entire town is on edge.
Now it's the weather. Like, everything is about the weather, and I guess there's a lot of people. It changes you. It changes you because, again, like I said before, I worried about if it was sunny out. Can I put clothes out? Can I go to the beach? You know, the winter, you worried, oh, we're going to lose power. Now it's, okay, how many hurricanes is in the Gulf, and how many's coming up through, and where's this one going to land, and where that one, and it's just not our community. I worry about another community that would have to go through this, and that breaks my heart.
These psychological wounds, the fear, stress, and anxiety, are shared by victims of climate-related disasters across the country. A year of hurricanes, wildfires, floods. All of them have the same effect on the people who live through them.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's one of the most basic human experiences to be attached to the place where you live, where you rely on for food, and where you celebrate your life with your family and friends. And when that is lost to you, that can be incredibly disruptive. It erodes your sense of security, the way you think that life is stable.
On a community level, collective trauma from Fiona has changed Port aux Basques, maybe forever.
So it used to be much more vibrant. It used to be much more active and involved in your community, and people would make an effort to go out and see you and this and that, and that's gone. There's just, you know, my mother said last night, this town has shifted so much. It has died since Fiona, because that sense of community got demolished along with 96 houses. So it's very noticeable before and after, the difference in the way people behave, the way people interact with each other.
There is hope, though. Maintaining social supports, talking about the tragedy with friends and neighbors is key to overcoming the lingering mental health effects from Fiona. And for Peggy Munden, it took facing her fear to eliminate it.
One day I went to Robin's and I got a cup of tea and I went down behind my house and I sat on the rock and I said, no, I can't. Just excuse me for a second. I said, I can't let this ocean make me scared.
Malone Mullen, CBC News, Port aux Basques.
A 33-year-old man was arrested and charged with drunk driving in Stephenville on Monday afternoon after driving through the town with a missing wheel. Police located the vehicle in the parking lot of the Stephenville Mall. The passenger side front tire was missing from the vehicle. They arrested the man and took him to the police station where he provided breath samples that were nearly 4 times the legal limit. Police also seized his vehicle. Well, crews used a drone to locate an elderly man who got lost while berry picking earlier this week. RCMP in Glovertown received a report Monday evening that the lost man was diabetic and he had no provisions. Police, as well as Bonavista Bay Search and Rescue, were deployed and located the man. He was brought to hospital for medical attention. Police also retrieved a second berry picker from the woods. According to the RCMP, the man's friend was unaware that the other had been lost. Atlantic Canada's Liberal MPs met in Ottawa today to talk about possible changes to the Atlantic Accord. That's the legislation regulating offshore oil and gas. Ottawa wants to amend the accord to include renewable energy. Among other things, there are plans for a number of wind energy projects in the region. At a news conference, Nova Scotia MP Cody Bloys was asked about the status of the Atlantic Loop, a plan for a transmission line corridor in Atlantic Canada to transport electricity to other markets.
Although a lot of the focus right now is on Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, this makes sense for the entire region long term. And what we're talking about here today on the offshore wind opportunity, the Atlantic Loop 3 or 4 years ago would have been Atlantic Canada's way to get off coal-fired generation. I would say today, given the opportunity, assuming we can get this legislation through and we can keep moving forward, which we will, there's an opportunity for Atlantic Canada to actually provide electricity generation back to Quebec, Ontario, the rest of the country. But we need that transmission line. And I know those conversations are ongoing. I will leave it to Minister Wilkinson to provide the finer details, but I know there is active conversation with Premier Higgs and Premier Houston on exactly how to do that. We have to generate the electricity. That's part of what we're talking about here today, but we also have to be able to transmit it. We are fully on board to making sure that that's a national project that we're working together. And I believe Minister Wilkinson will have more to say on that with the premiers in a few short weeks.
And we have a clarification now on a story we brought you last evening. A new area code is coming soon for this province, but if you have a 709 number, the new area code will not replace it. Starting February 17th, though, new numbers will get the new 879 area code. But in the meantime, you can keep on dialing 709.
When people ask you, how are you now? They don't want the complex answer, all right? They don't want to hear about the surgery you just had to Lance DeBoyle. It was so big, it had a kneecap.
Well, temperatures today feel very summer-like. Hopefully you enjoyed it because it is going to feel very fall-like for the next couple of days. I'll get into all the details when I come back.
This weather update is brought to you by Steamatic Canada, the undisputed choice in restoration. Don't panic. Call Steamatic.
Okay, time for a look at the weather, and a beautiful day out there today.
It was gorgeous. Sun shining, 20 degrees out there this afternoon here in St. John's anyway. Definitely a taste of some summer weather. We take a look at the temperatures across the board. 21 in Gander. That was the hot spot, tied with Badger this afternoon. Still very much chilly up across Labrador, though. Single digits towards the coast, and about 8 to 10 for the rest of the Big Land. Now, if we take a look at what's happening, we are headed well into fall. Fall officially arrives as we head into Saturday. It arrives at 4:20 in the morning Newfoundland time. But, you know, talking about sunsets, the sun will set on Saturday at 6:57. So tonight and tomorrow actually will be the last time we see the sunset before 7 o'clock. Current conditions absolutely beautiful out there here in St. John's. 18 degrees, humidex 21. Those winds are out of the west around 22 kilometers per hour. But like I said, that sunset, if we look at the next the next week or so, we'll be down to 6:48 in St. John's p.m. In a month, down to 6 o'clock, and then by Christmas or by December 21st, the winter solstice, 4:21. So we're currently losing about 3 minutes and 23 seconds of daylight each day, and but the rest of the day today will be absolutely beautiful. We do have a couple of systems on the go right now. Area of low pressure moving towards the province. And then we've got this one down here. That is Hurricane Nigel. That is going to stay offshore and away from Atlantic Canada over the next couple of days. But it was associated with an area cold front that moved through, and that is what brought some of that rain earlier this week, or at least some of that moisture was. Currently, we have some showers working their way from west to east, starting to peter off as you get towards central, but that risk of showers will still continue tonight. Very slight risk, but it will continue tonight across the island. Not a whole lot happening up across Labrador tonight, generally quiet. The rain will end, especially through central portions of the Big Land into the early morning hours, but other than that, we start to see a change in the winds, and that is going to drop those temperatures. Fairly chilly considering what we have been seeing for the past couple of nights, but at this point, 7 to 9 degrees is right around where we should be sitting this time of year. We've actually been seeing well above seasonable temperatures, but overnight tonight, we're looking at those temperatures between 10 to 12 degrees for the west coast and along the south coast of the island, including the Avalon. Winds generally light for the most part, except again, in that southeastern portion of Labrador, Northern Peninsula area, where you will be seeing those winds gusting around 20 to or 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. For the most part, Labrador will be chilly, 6 degrees, 1 degree in Lab City tonight. So fairly chilly for you. It will be quiet. Like I said, just the slight chance of some showers. Now, as we head into tomorrow, the showers will become more widespread, especially for the western portion of the island. Now, the Avalon should stay dry. We may even see a few peaks of sun to start, but as the day goes on, we'll see that chance of showers move through. And then the trend across Labrador, especially for the north and the west, will be a clearing one. Eventually, towards the evening hours, you will start to see some clearing through central portions of Labrador as well. Temperatures tomorrow going to be much cooler than they have been. Very fall-like temperatures tomorrow. Winds will pick up again late in the day, especially along the northeast coast, between 30 to 50, maybe even 60 kilometers per hour. But 8 to 15 degrees, 15 or 16 degrees, the warmest temperatures will be away from that onshore flow along the south coast of the island. And then as far as Labrador is concerned, single digits still sticking around for those of you towards the coast, even into Happy Valley, Goose Bay. The warmest temperature, 10 degrees for Lab West, will be the story for you. And again, winds will be out of the north around 15 to 20 kilometers per hour. So we're going to hang on to these cool temperatures for the weekend. For the most part, things will be a bit unsettled as well, and I'll get into those details when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, good news for St. John's Theatre lovers. There's a new option on offer. The Majestic Theatre has gotten a big makeover. It was originally built in 1918 as a movie theatre, but it's also been a lighting showroom, a series of bars, and an appliance store, among other things. The newly renovated theatre is set for its grand reopening on Friday, and Aoife Alaba got early access to see the transformation.
The legendary Majestic Theatre is set to open this Friday with a brand new look and a brand new show. I am Aoife Alaba, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek.
Well, for a long time, I think the people of St. John's have wanted more theatre downtown. They wanted a bigger theatre, a more comfortable theatre, and a place where they could see movies, music, comedy, and most of all, drama. And we knew the Majestic Theatre was here. We knew it was kind of a hidden gem in the middle of the city that had suffered a series of blows and neglect over the years. And we knew that inside this, there was a great theatre. When this was built in 1918, this was the most beautiful theatre in Newfoundland. The second theatre to have talking pictures. This was an enormously popular and comfortable place to be. And so we wanted to build on that legacy, to build on that history and recreate that kind of space right at the center, the actual geographic center of St. John's. We sort of knew there was a bunch of problems. And then there was a bunch of stuff we didn't know exactly, but we knew it was there. But the worst of it was all the stuff we didn't know anything about that came out of nowhere. None of the rules that are really important now to planners and, insurance companies and whatnot, none of those rules were followed when they built this building. So you have to find a road that doesn't destroy it. There's no point flattening it and starting all over again. People love this building. And it's unique. It's the only flat iron building. It's the only intact movie theater left in downtown St. John's. So we didn't want to ruin it, but at the same point in time, we had to say, okay, this building has to be accessible, it has to be safe, and it has to work. When you come in here, it has to be comfortable. You want to sit in a seat and see it and hear it, and it's got to look good, it's got to sound good, you've got to be comfortable. You can't be going, where's the fire exit? Like, all of that we had to think about and then do and redo and redo.
Could have been the whiskey, might have been the gin, could have been the 3 or 4 6-packs, I don't know, but look at the best of it, my hands on.
The theater is going to operate for 3 hours a night, really, and we wanted a space that would do a lot more than that. So this is a mixture of a bar and cafe. We have a stage here for entertainment, so things that were too small to fit on the auditorium will fit in here. Acts that, require a smaller group or different kind of meetings, different kind of entertainment, and just a place to come and have a great coffee and look out the window and watch the world go by. When this was a theater, the screen would have been right behind us, and almost 700 people would have sat in an enormous auditorium going right up almost to the ceiling. Try as I might, I've never seen a picture of what it looked like. But I've talked to people, they're all in their 70s and 80s now, who saw movies in here, and they said, this was amazing. We knew we could never really do that again. I mean, putting 700 people in this building now would be insane. However, we wanted the magic of it all, The idea of coming off the sidewalk and going to a beautiful space in St. John's that felt like that felt classy, that felt like a great night out. That's what we're trying to do.
When people ask you, how are you now? They don't want the complex answer, all right? They don't want to hear about the surgery you just had to lance the boil. It was so big, it had a kneecap.
Well, the 100-year-old building will reopen this Friday with the production of The Wild Rovers, based on the music of the Irish Rovers. Aoife Alaba spoke to the actors and the musical directors of the show, which begins Friday at 8 p.m. All that is coming up tomorrow.
Toronto picks Maggie Connors.
Hockey history was made this week with the launch of the Professional Women's Hockey League. Coming up, we'll introduce you to Newfoundland and Labrador's latest pro player, 22-year-old Maggie Connors.
Org.
Well, when hockey season gets underway, fans in this province will have a new pro player to cheer for. 22-year-old Maggie Connors has just made history. She was drafted in the new Professional Women's Hockey League, which was launched just this week, and Maggie Connors joins me now. So this is a huge deal for women's hockey. What does this mean for you personally?
Well, for me personally, it means that I finally, I'm going to be able to play in a professional league against the best players in the world. And so there's nothing more that you want in that than to achieve, obviously, at the highest level you can in your sport.
And you were drafted to Toronto. What do you think about that location?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I mean, any location is a good location, but if you think about Toronto, obviously it's a huge hockey market as it is, so we're going to have, really supportive fans, maybe some critiques as well. But to be a part of the first one, it is really history, and you could just feel it in the room. You could feel, some people even crying when their name was called, obviously how far they've come, and people that have put on this event, it's been so long in the making, and so obviously I was really proud to be a part of it.
Toronto picks Maggie Connors.
Can you describe how you felt when your name was called?
I mean, obviously it's a little bit of shock. You kind of don't really know what to do for a second, but obviously you get up, you kind of hug those who you're with, and I was lucky enough to have some friends with me, and as well as my mom and aunt traveled up, and so it was absolutely incredible.
Tell us a bit about yourself and your history with hockey, how you got interested in it and all of that.
Yeah, so the beginning of it, I was so young. I started when I was, I believe, on skates around 3, and then playing hockey at 4. I actually have memories figure skating, starting skating boards to boards in this rink, and then that didn't last too long. I switched to hockey, but it started because both my brothers played, and my parents joke that with 3 kids around a similar age, it was just easiest for them to do one thing. And then kind of playing here and playing on the boys' side up until I was about 11. I went to Shattuck St. Mary's, which is a boarding school in Minnesota, for 5 years, and then got recruited to Princeton University. So then I was at Princeton up until May, and I just graduated. So I'm lucky enough to be joining this league right as coming out of university. But it's a huge thanks to everyone that didn't have that opportunity, because they pushed for many, many years, and unfortunately other leagues folded and everything. But that is all just a progression to what we have today. So I'm really thrilled.
What are your hopes for this league and where women's hockey is going?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope, obviously, that, people support it, and it obviously is successful, and I think, it's on that path right now, and we don't have to worry about the competition, because the players that I'm going to be playing alongside and the people there are incredible, so, I'm going to develop a lot as a player and, be able to play with them. I can't wait. Part
of the conversation, too, is the comparison between men's and women's hockey. A big part of that is salaries. Yeah. Quite the difference between what a male hockey player gets in the NHL compared to this new league. The women's team, it's between 30 and 80,000, I think, is the top end of what a female player will earn, as opposed to the minimum of $750,000 for a male player. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there is a discrepancy, but you have to start somewhere. I think, that the fact that we are being paid for what we do, and, it is a very sufficient amount to be able to, live and support yourself. And I think the biggest thing about this league, compared to every single one in the past that has unfortunately kind of folded or not turned out the way they wanted, is it's starting off with a CBA. Which is this agreement that is the first professional women's league to have it before it starts. So it sets the standard for professionalism. And so, we are getting paid, and players do have those rights. So I think we're stepping off in the right foot. And, jokingly, it does help that obviously it's in, I believe, USD, and I'm in Canada. So it's the little things that counts.
Yeah. Sure. What do you think about the appetite for women's hockey right now? Do you think people are going to tune in?
I really do. I think, obviously, there's enough competition and demand, I really believe, for more than 6 teams, and I think we'll get there. But I truly think with only 6 and the amount of obviously great players that have been drafted, I think the competition is going to be so high that, you know, if people like watching the World Championships, which they do, if people like watching, you know, different games at the Olympics, I think obviously it might be one step down from that, but it's definitely approaching that level with all the Olympians playing in this league. So I think there's definitely a demand for it. So I think people are definitely going to tune in.
Yeah, and a lot of people tuned in for the Olympic game.
Yeah, exactly. I've said this before, but in the 2022 Olympics, the final between Canada and the U.S. was the second most watched event at the entire Olympics, and I believe more viewers than any NHL game that entire year. So clearly there's an appetite, and so hopefully people will learn that and tune in.
Well, Maggie Connors, it is a big deal. I can't wait to cheer for you when it all starts. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me and obviously promoting this league.
Well, starting next week, smokers won't be allowed to have a cigarette or vape on any provincial government property, and that includes hospitals, courthouses, even the DMV. And it also includes parking lots and even inside your own vehicle. Here Now's Jessica Singer went out to find out how these new rules are going over.
When the government says you're not allowed to smoke anymore on any government properties,
So including buildings, you're not going to be able to smoke in or around any of these buildings. What do you think about that?
I don't think very good about it because everybody else going to. I got my leg gun, and how the hell I'm going to go somewhere else and smoke? When I want to smoke, I'm going to sit down in my wheelchair and light up a cigarette like that.
So do you think you're going to follow the rules?
No, I'm not going to follow the rules. I'm 67 years old, honey. I got 27 years in the military. I just got out. And damn sure I'm not going to follow the rules.
Do you think for people who do smoke, like, what do you think the solution should be for them?
I think maybe just a little private spot, just, you know, that they all can go there, you know, because, I mean, it's not fair for smokers, especially people that are in the hospital.
So what do you think that they're not even letting people in the parking lot? There's even in their car, they're not allowed to smoke.
I don't think that's fair. No, that's not fair.
It is a mess. When you really look at it, it is a mess, and when they get wet and everything, they make a bigger mess. I clean up a lot here around this one when it comes to cigarette butts and everything. My opinion is simply, no, I wouldn't like it around the buildings, and it'd make my job easier here.
They shouldn't be smoking in front of the building, no. But on the parking lot, they should have places to put the butts in that, and let people have a smoke. The people in the hospital like to smoke.
I don't think very much of it. You should be allowed to smoke. I'm dealing with all kinds of issues, and if I want to smoke, it is my choice.
Okay, what sort of issues are you going through that, like, if you don't mind me asking?
Cancer. They're not going to stop me. As simple as that. If I want to smoke, I'm going to smoke.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced during a climate summit at the UN that Canada will allocate another $700 million to help developing countries deal with climate change.
I can confirm today that Canada will allocate an additional $700 million in special drawing rights, valued at $1.3 billion, to the Poverty Reduction and Growth Trust, building on our leadership within the G7.
Trudeau also told the Climate Ambition Summit that Canada will be able to exceed its targets for reducing methane emissions from the oil and gas sector. He says Canada will do better than slashing emissions by 75% by 2030. Well, it's business as usual at Ford in Canada. The company and its unionized workers have reached a contract deal and avoided a strike.
We have reached a tentative agreement with Ford Motor Company that has been unanimously and proudly endorsed by our entire Master Bargaining Committee. We're very proud of the work that they've done over these many, many weeks, and now we will take it to our members with that endorsement.
The tentative deal was reached last night after negotiations were extended for 24 hours. The union, Unifor, represents about 5,600 auto workers at Ford plants and parts distribution centers in Ontario and Alberta. The contract still has to be ratified by the workers. Unifor now has to negotiate deals with GM and Stellantis. In the U.S., the United Auto Workers Union has been staging strikes against all of Detroit's Big Three. A new organization is trying to make an iconic Nova Scotia landmark less dangerous. The Peggy's Cove Safety Patrol has been in place for just over a year, and as the CBC's Paul Palmater tells us, they've been kept extremely busy.
This is what you shouldn't do at Peggy's Cove. Getting this close to the dark rocks at the water's edge puts you in danger of rogue waves hitting you. Now, a safety patrol is scouring the rocks to inform people to make good decisions and to intervene if people are getting too close.
It's meant to be about education, about trying to inform people who are unaware of the dangers of the sea. Exactly where the risk areas are.
Build Nova Scotia is the provincial Crown agency that operates the safety patrol, a team of security guards in place 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for most of the calendar year. There have been more than 3,600 interventions since the patrol started over a year ago, 91 on one day alone. 700,000 people, tourists and locals, flock to Peggy's Cove each year. Despite numerous signs on the rocks that have very clear messaging that being too close to the water is dangerous, people continue to tempt fate.
I've had experiences out there with the security patrol doing interventions, and in fact have had people respond with, not to worry, I'm from here. So you would think that they would know better, but I think it's just a general lack of appreciation for the danger which really is there.
This time-lapse video posted by Nova Scotia Webcams shows the storm surge that battered Peggy's Cove during the height of post-tropical storm Lee, which lifted and moved some large boulders. Over the weekend, there were many interventions between the patrol and the public as people tried to get near the water.
The tour bus operators ceased operations in bringing the buses out, but there's always the curious folk who show up. Saturday we had to do 23 interventions with people who tried to move past the security that was out there.
New viewing platforms have also been added in an effort to make the site safer. The last drowning at Peggy's Cove was in April of last year. The patrol started to operate 4 months later, and no one has been swept into the water since then. Paul Palmeter, CBC News, Peggy's Cove.
dealer.
CBC Radio's The Signal has been focusing on climate change this week, and today host Adam Walsh spoke with the owner of Fundamental Inc. That's a company working to make communities more resilient to the effects of climate change. Here's part of the discussion about the work the company is doing in the town of Port aux Basques.
You talk just briefly how some of that work between you and the community has been going.
Sure. So our relationship with Port aux Basques started, I think it was 2018. So Port aux Basques was one of a cohort of 6 municipalities that were part of the Transitions 2050 program, which was an FCM-funded program. And we developed a local climate action plan with them then. And we've maintained that relationship and built on it and done work with them since. So in the wake of Fiona, our role has shifted slightly in the sense that we are now also focused on immediate housing needs and support. And there's we were always looking at climate mitigation and climate adaptation, but of course now there's a very specific focus on the impacts of Fiona and how you learn from that situation in a way that you don't allow the same things to happen again. And so that has an impact around land use planning and zoning within a municipality and just municipal planning in general. It has to do with how a municipality or extensions of the municipality or community organizations respond to those immediate housing needs in a way that's affordable, so that people who were displaced from their homes and have been displaced from their homes for quite some time now can get back into a home that's affordable. So that's slightly different than like affordable housing or social housing, right? Like you just have to look at how do you get them back to like a stable financial place that they were previously.
Well, I can't believe it's Wednesday already. I don't know about you, but it feels like this week has gone kind of quickly.
I know. Yesterday felt like it should have been Friday already, but it was only Tuesday.
Fair enough.
It's all good.
So, I guess we're looking ahead to the long range and the weekend. So some rain on the way, right?
Yes, it's going to be a bit unsettled. We're also going to jump right into fall, at least temperature-wise. So hopefully you enjoyed today because...
I like scarves.
Yes, I know. Nice to change things up a little bit, that's for sure. Let's take a look at what's going on over the next couple of days. Thursday evening, area of low pressure is still very much in place with that chance of showers through the evening. And as we head into Friday, we're going to see a bit of a break up across Labrador, which will be nice, but some more showers will move in for those of you in Lab West. And then across the island on Friday, generally unsettled. We may see a few peaks of sun in the mix as well, but as we head through the evening hours, we'll say goodbye to that chance of rain. Actually looks like a pretty lovely evening at this point. But yes, those temperatures, very different. 8, 9, 10 degrees. Some areas seeing between 11 and 12 degrees, even up across Labrador as well. So you're going to hang on to those single digits towards the coast. Some sunshine at least, but that shower potential, like I said, in Lab West for your Friday. You're also going to see the winds easing eventually as the day goes on as well. Now into Friday evening and into Saturday, next trough will move through, and that's going to spark some showers up across Labrador, generally quiet across the island, at least to start. We may see some showers for Northern Peninsula. Winds will generally be out of the southwest through the day, and that chance of showers will essentially sink south as we head into the evening hours, but some sunshine at least for most of Saturday. But we will see those showers later on in the evening hours, especially for the metro area. So about 15 degrees. So we're starting to see a tick up in the temperatures, back up to 18 for the west coast, even along the south coast of the island, between 16 and 17 degrees through the day. Up across Labrador, between 10 and 12 degrees, more unsettled towards the west, but through central Labrador, you'll still see that chance of a few showers in there around Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and your daytime highs will be hovering around the 12-degree mark. Now, the long-range forecast still showing temperatures right around seasonable. We should be hovering around 15, 16 degrees right now. So as we head into Sunday and then eventually into Monday next week, the temperatures will drop a little bit, and it will be unsettled Sunday and into Monday with some periods of rain expected. And then for central Newfoundland, you're looking at a lovely Friday, Saturday, but change in your weather as we head into Sunday and Monday with that chance of showers. And again, dropping in temperatures for Monday, around 10 degrees. And then for western Newfoundland, 15 to 17 degrees for your long range forecast, and the chance of some rain on Sunday and showers for your Monday. Now, a little bit of a roller coaster for eastern portions of Labrador. You'll go up as we head into Sunday and drop down into Monday and back into those single digits. A little bit unsettled for you, but for western Labrador, you're looking at a nice Sunday and Monday with sunshine and temperatures between 9 and 13 degrees. We've been showing some fishing photos. This is Doreen enjoying a fishing sunset, or sunset while fishing. Thank you so much for that photo, Doreen. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can share them on my Facebook page. But the best place, nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Great shot. Thank you so much for that, Doreen. Another peaceful scene out fishing on the river, on the lake.
Wouldn't you love to enjoy that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's it for us on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.